I can still remember that night with unsettling clarity. Her laughter echoing in my head even now, months later. It was supposed to be our 10th anniversary. A quiet dinner at home, intimate and warm the way we used to be. I had gone all out. Cooked her favorite dish, set the table just right. Even found that old playlist we used to dance to when love felt easy and unspoken. I thought maybe it would bring her back, remind her of us, of the version of ourselves that hadn't yet learned how to drift apart. She came down the stairs wearing that blue dress I'd always adored. For a moment I thought time had folded back on itself. But then I saw her smile. It wasn't real, not the kind that glowed from her eyes. It was the kind of smile you give a stranger who compliments your outfit. Distant. Polite. Dinner was quiet, uncomfortably so. The sound of cutlery scraping against plates filled the room louder than any words we managed to share. I asked about her day, about work, anything just to fill the void. But her answers were clipped, distracted. Her phone lit up every few minutes beside her plate. I didn't ask who it was. I was tired of sounding like a jealous husband. After we ate, I brought out a small gift. Something simple, heartfelt. A framed photo from our first trip together. Edges worn, colors fading. I'd written a short note on the back. 10 years and I'd still choose you. I thought it would mean something. Instead she laughed. Not a nervous giggle or a startled chuckle. A real laugh. The sound stopped me cold. What's funny? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Her laughter stopped the moment she saw my face. I didn't mean to, she said quickly. It just caught me off guard. Caught you off guard? How? She looked at the photo again, her expression softening but not enough. It's sweet. I just wasn't expecting it. You're always so sentimental. That word landed harder than I expected, sentimental. Like it was a flaw. I didn't reply. I just set the frame down on the table. The rest of the night blurred by in slow motion. I cleaned up while she scrolled through her phone, legs curled up on the couch as if nothing had happened. Later, when I sat beside her, she glanced up and said softly, "Hey, I love you, okay? Don't look like that." Her voice trembled just slightly, not from guilt but from fear. Fear that she'd revealed something she couldn't take back. I smiled weakly. It's fine. I overreacted. She hugged me, pressing her face against my chest. But it wasn't the kind of embrace that brings comfort. It was the kind meant to cover a crack that's already too deep to fix. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, her steady breathing beside me, and felt something inside me unravel. It wasn't anger that kept me awake. It was understanding, painful, slow understanding. That laugh wasn't just laughter. It was recognition. A sign that she no longer saw me the way she used to. Somewhere along the way, the man she'd once loved had become predictable, soft, easy to overlook. The next morning while she showered, I found myself flipping through our old photos. Every smile looked genuine then. Every touch looked natural. When she came out and saw the frame on the counter, she smiled faintly. "You should have been a poet," she said. "You always find meaning in everything." It was casual, almost teasing, but underneath it was the truth. She didn't feel the same. I'd been holding on to a love she'd quietly stepped out of long ago. Still I played along. Pretended things were fine. We went to work, came home, ate dinner, watched shows we barely paid attention to. But every time she laughed, I heard that same laugh from our anniversary, the one that told me I was the only one still trying. A week later I noticed the photo frame again, this time on the kitchen counter. A small crack split across one corner of the glass. "What happened?" I asked. "It must have fallen when I was cleaning," she said with a shrug. No apology. No attempt to fix it. It stuck with me. How easily she could ignore something that once meant everything. When you still care, you try to mend what's broken. But she didn't even glance at it again. That night I sat alone, scrolling through our old texts. Long messages, inside jokes. "I miss you" and goodnights that once came effortlessly. The last real message she'd sent, one that wasn't about groceries or plans, was months old. For months since she'd said "I love you" without me saying it first. She walked in and saw me lost in my phone. "You're not still upset about the other night, are you?" "No," I said quietly. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About when we stopped talking to each other." She gave a small defensive laugh. "We talk all the time." "No," I said, shaking my head. "We exchange words." "That's not the same thing." For a moment her face softened, like she wanted to say something honest. But then she sighed. You're overthinking again, Daniel. You always do this. Overthinking. Another word that sounds harmless until you realize it really means you care more than I do. I didn't argue. Just nodded. Maybe you're right. But deep down I knew we were finished, even if neither of us said it out loud. The following weekend I suggested we take a short trip, just the two of us like old times. She hesitated but agreed. I booked a small cabin a couple of hours away, hoping the quiet might help us remember who we used to be. But silence didn't bring us closer. It just made the distance louder. The second night we sat by the fire. She was scrolling through her phone again. I asked softly, "Do you remember when we used to stay up all night talking?" She looked up briefly. "That was a long time ago. Feels like another life," I said. "Maybe it was," she murmured. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to fix. The next morning, I packed my bag before she woke. I left the key on the counter with a note. You once said laughter means happiness. But that night it didn't sound like happiness. It sounded like goodbye. Take care, Nicole. I drove home alone. Not angry, not heartbroken, just empty. The kind of emptiness that feels clean, like clarity after a storm. A few hours later my phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen. I didn't answer. She texted instead. "Daniel, where are you? We were supposed to drive back together. I didn't mean what I said last night. Please answer." I didn't. For once I let silence say what words never could. That evening I sat on the porch watching the sunset. The quiet felt different now, lighter. Peaceful. I realized love doesn't always end in chaos or betrayal. Sometimes it just fades slowly until one day, you wake up beside someone who isn't your partner anymore. Just a stranger wearing their face. A few days later she came by for her things. Her eyes were red but steady. "Is this really what you want?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked, and saw that she'd already left me long before I walked away. "Yes," I said softly. "It's what we both need." She nodded, tears slipping down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "So am I," I replied. When she left, I didn't watch her drive off. I didn't need to. That night, I placed the cracked photo frame on the shelf above my desk. Not as a symbol of loss, but of truth. Because sometimes love doesn't end with shouting or betrayal. Sometimes it ends with laughter. The kind that stings because it reveals what's already gone. And strangely, I was grateful. That moment, her laugh, had given me something I hadn't had in years: honesty. Some people laugh when they